So after the American Revolution, the United States, well, it wasn't really a country yet. It was more like this fragile new idea. And George Washington, the first president, he had this massive job ahead of him with zero instructions. So what we're going to do is dive into the blueprint he actually created, a plan for a nation that was built to last.
I mean, think about it. How do you build a country that actually lasts? This was the big question. There was no roadmap, no proven formula for a republic this big. Literally, every single decision, every move they made could either make the whole thing stronger or cause it to just fall apart. And Washington, he got this. He knew, like deep in his bones, that he wasn't just managing the day-to-day. No, everything he did was setting a precedent, a pattern for all the presidents who would come after him. He totally understood that his actions were going to become the traditions, the unwritten rules that would shape the presidency and hopefully keep the country stable.
So when it was time for him to leave office, he didn't just wave and say goodbye. Instead, he basically gave everyone a master class in how to run a country. His farewell address, it wasn't just a speech, it was this incredibly thought-out document, a warning, really, and a guide for the future, all based on the tough lessons he learned while in charge.
And he boiled all his advice down to three main ideas, three pillars that he saw as absolutely non-negotiable if the republic was going to survive. So let's break them down one by one. Okay, first up, unity. Washington was, and I mean this, almost obsessed with the idea of national unity. He'd seen firsthand during the war how the states would bicker and compete, and he was convinced that fighting amongst ourselves was the #1 threat to the country's independence. And you don't have to take my word for it. Look at his. For Washington, unity wasn't some fuzzy, feel-good concept. Nope. It was the absolute foundation of their freedom. He basically said, look, if we don't have a strong, unified government, then this independence we all just fought and died for, it means nothing. All right, his next big piece of advice was all about foreign policy, how to deal with the rest of the world. Think about it, they had just broken away from one giant European power. The last thing Washington wanted was to get tangled up with others, especially with France and Great Britain gearing up for another fight. And his warning here was crystal clear. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command almost. He was convinced that locking into permanent alliances would just drag the new, still fragile nation into all of Europe's never-ending wars. Conflicts that frankly had zero to do with American interests.
Okay, so Pillar 3. This one's a bit different. It's not about government structure or foreign treaties, it's about the people themselves. See, for Washington, a good government and a savvy foreign policy, that wasn't the whole picture. He believed the republic needed a moral core to survive. His whole argument was that for a country to actually govern itself, the citizens, well, they had to be good people. He wasn't saying the government should enforce religion or anything like that. He just saw religion and morality as the indispensable supports, the inner compass that helps people make choices for the good of everyone, which is the only way self-government can actually work.
But here's the thing. Washington's blueprint wasn't just what he wrote down. His most powerful message, the final and most critical precedent he set, wasn't a word at all. It was an action. And believe me, this action spoke way louder than his entire farewell address.
So what do you think it was? What was his single most powerful act as president? I mean, really think about it. This guy was a war hero, a leader everyone looked up to. He could have easily been a king. A lot of people actually expected him to be. So what did he do that was just so revolutionary?
He stepped down. That's it. So simple, right? After 2 terms, he just walked away. He gave up power voluntarily. Now, you got to remember, in a world full of kings, czars, and emperors who all ruled for life, doing that was an absolutely radical move. And by doing that, by just letting go of the reins, Washington proved that all that talk about a republic, it was real. He showed the world that in America, power doesn't belong to one person. It's just loaned to them by the people and only for a little while. This one single act really became the crown jewel of his entire legacy. Setting this precedent, the peaceful transition of power, did more than maybe anything else to make sure the nation would be stable for the long haul. It made a peaceful handover of the presidency the normal thing to do, not some shocking exception. So that leaves us with one last and pretty important question. This blueprint from over 200 years ago, all his warnings about internal division, his advice on getting tangled up in foreign affairs, his focus on citizen character, and of course his example of giving up power, how relevant is all that today? I mean, really, how well does that blueprint hold up now, in the 21st century?
You know, the answer to that question might just be what defines our future.